Well, hello there, Vlad here. Welcome to my studio and welcome to the second episode of How I Mixed It, a video series where I break down different mixes I've done over the years, some very recent, some from a few years ago. That's the teaser for upcoming videos, that is. And the idea is very simple here. I break down my mixes so you can steal all of the ideas I've had in my mixes, or you can use them as a warning of something you really don't want to do. Either way, you'll learn and get better at your mixing as well. By the way, if you want to set up your home studio and start recording your own music, check out my free home studio setup course down below in the description. In that course, we cover things like setting up your room, doing acoustic treatment on a really tiny budget, and which also check out a bunch of useful gear and software you might want to get for your home studio as well. But now to the mix. And today we're taking a look at the favorite DIY recording because all of the tracks were recorded in my friend's house, in his music room he has. And this track, along with a bunch of other tracks, were recorded for our church. As of January 2021, when this was recorded, we cannot gather at churches. There's pretty strict restrictions going on. And the way we are doing the services right now is there's a live stream coming from somewhere, but all of the music, for example, is pre-recorded. It's live, but it's still pre-recorded, and you can do a lot with mixing, for example, which I've done here. First of all, let's start by taking a listen and then start breaking down what's going on mix-wise. As you can immediately tell, I went for a big ambient thing, and it's something that you might want to do when you have a singer as good as Anna is, and overall we kind of played ambiently as well. I'm going to jump between the mix I'm going to show you in a second. Well, here the mix actually is, there's actually not too many tracks happening here. There's a bass drum, there's a snare, then there's a bass synth for the snare drum, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar 1. But let's quickly actually jump to the video side and I'll show you the recording setup. First of all, you guitarists out there might immediately see that this is a Helix Stomp party all the way. There's my Helix Stomp. Our bass player Ville is also playing through a Helix Stomp. There's another Helix Stomp over there, though Mikko isn't playing guitar in this song. Then there's an acoustic guitar that's going straight in DI. Then Mikko is playing, so he's playing a keyboard thing, and also he's using his iPad to give this kind of ambient shimmer thing going on that you hear at the very beginning, and it's just playing the root note of the chord and in the right key that the song is in, and then he's doing small melody things here with a keyboard as well. Then our drummer Marko is playing this Lauta thing, which is I think it's a Finnish invention. It's kind of a cajon type of thing, but there's a real bass drum for that, or you're using a bass drum pedal, and then this top part serves as a snare, and there's also a small hi-hat and a small crash as well. We're making the whole thing with a Sennheiser, something, is it 209, 109? I don't remember the Sennheiser codes right now. And there was a second microphone on the bass drum as well. I don't think you can see it right now, but yeah, there's a second microphone. Oh yeah, it kind of goes there behind his leg. There's a second microphone on the bass drum, so we can get a more punchy kick sound. Otherwise, everything is going into DI, and obviously the 2 vocal microphones as well. Okay, so that's for the recording setup. Let's break down the tracks, starting with drums. And I'm going to take out the reverb and the processing. This is how it sounds all by itself. As you can tell, it's not like exactly as a real kick drum, but it's pretty close, and like there is the oomph and everything. And I'm using the Chris Lord Algae plugin again. This is by Waves, and I went for the extra gate preset, which basically kind of turns down everything else but the kick. There's a pretty hard gate and it's quite loud. And I'm adding a little bit of bass, a lot of treble, so we get the snap. And I'm also compressing it quite a lot. And then I'm also sending that to the reverb. But to make sure that we're not reverberating the low end, I'm actually cutting out a lot of the low end up to 320 Hz over here. So we're getting just a little bit of that top end snap that goes into the reverb. But yeah, that's it. Didn't have to do anything else, just remove everything else but the kick drum there. Then let's take a look at the snare. Again, I'm using the Chris Lord Algae thing, and there's a snare preset called Balladier, which already adds some effects to it. And also adds this kind of stereo width that I like a lot. So it's doing that. Without it. Yes, I'm also bringing the volume up quite a bit. Then I'm sending a copy of this snare track into a bus track where I'm using something else called dirty snare, like effect. And this is what a difference it makes. I'm going to disable the bus and enable it then. So this dirty snare thing is giving it a little bit of top and a little bit of drive, and there's a bunch of whole reverb going on and a little bit of delay as well, and it just makes it pop a lot more. And again, I'm using here a technique where I'm sending both snare tracks into the master reverb as well, but I'm also reverberating them within the snare drum or like hi-hat thing itself. Something that I talked about in the previous video as well, where I was talking about mixing vocals, where I add some of the delay and vocals on the vocals themselves and then also send them to the master reverb. This allows me to have exactly the amount of reverb I want to have per track without them kind of mudding up the whole mix. And yeah, let's take a listen with all of the reverbs. As you can hear, like the reverb is going on there a little bit, but not too much, and it works really well in the mix as well. Then let's go for the bass. Ville was recording with his Dingwall bass straight into his Helix Stomp, and this is how it sounds. I love this Chris Lord Algae plugin suite just because the presets give me a good starting point, then I can tweak however I like. This is a very ambient and maybe even like slightly 80s style of ballad type of thing, so I wanted to have quite a lot of chorus on the bass. Yeah, he plays evenly. I'm still compressing it quite a bit, and also just a slight treble boost. There's quite a bit of sub added here, a little bit of distortion going on, and then there's the chorus. Makes a huge difference. It's also adding a little bit of width to the bass track as well. Nice and simple. Then we go to the acoustic guitar track. Yes, I'm again using the CLA plugin, this time using acoustic guitar thing, and again a good preset. Yeah, so it's hard band left in the actual mix, but over here I've just banned it in the middle for the sake of the demonstration. And again, I'm adding some delay and stuff like that into the stereo spectrum within the track itself, and then sending it to a reverb, because that's a better way to create ambient, and that way there's different interactions happening and there's more randomness in the reverb. Plus this reverb is really kind of washy, so this way we still get a lot of detail and movement from the side to side, but we also get the ambience like this. Yeah, so there's a lot of that washiness going on, but we're also getting some movement that reacts to what the acoustic guitar is playing. Then there's my guitar. Okay, sounds like I just went for a bridge pickup. Let's disable this. So I already had some effects on my sound. I think I had like a delay and reverb going on, and then I'm also adding a little bit more stuff here with, again, Chris Lord LG plugin. Yep. And then also sending it to the reverb. I know me explaining it like this makes it sound super easy, or like as if this is super easy, but I have to tell you, like, I treated the instruments individually first, like cut out all of the excess low end, for example, or like tame the highs on some of the instruments, and then I spent quite a lot of time like trying to balance out how dry or how wet I'm sending any of the signals, how much of the effect should be on the instruments themselves, and how much I'm sending to the reverb itself to create the final balance we heard in the song. Because I think this can be pretty washy in the sense that you don't have to make out every single detail that's happening, but it's also not fun if it's just one big mush behind the singer. So it's about finding the balance, what mixing is really. Yes, good points. Then let's jump to this funny little sound. I'm guessing it's a synth, or you would call it synth. It's just playing one note basically with some shimmer effect. And here, I think Mikko's triggering everything from his iPad, so basically like the single pitch note and then the kind of orchestral thing he's playing here, they're both coming from the same output, and that's why we're hearing them on top of each other. And here I'm just adding some effects on it. So boosting a lot of the highs, There's a tiny bit of distortion added, the reverb is actually turned off. Then there's a short delay, again to create some width within the sound itself, and the delays and pitch stuff is off. The biggest difference comes from adding some top end and a little bit of distortion, so it cuts through just the right amount, for my liking at least. And then to the grand finale, which is the vocal track. Anna is a fantastic singer, and it's really fun to mix when somebody knows how to sing. There isn't too much you need to do. There's a de-esser plugin going on, and it's taking out all the S's. Simply as that. Yep, that's what it's doing. And then there's a Chris Lord Alge plugin. Once again, I purchased like a quick mix bundle, and it's working really great for me. So why wouldn't I use that? So yeah, that's what it's doing. Let's take a listen to the vocal without any reverbs applied.
Missä ihmissilmät näkee karun erämaan, sinä annat sateen, saat kaiken kasvamaan. Yeah, it's very dry, but you can still hear a lot of stuff bleeding in. Then we're going for this moody preset. Ihmissilmät näkee mahdottomuuden, sinä teet mahdolliseksi sen.
So I'm adding a little bit of low end here, some treble boost, then quite a lot of compression, and a little bit of chamber reverb and quarter delay, and then there's also this widening effect, which is kind of chorus but not really chorus, just makes it wider. Let me demonstrate that. Strictly in the middle. And then obviously sending a lot of the vocals to the big reverb as well. With the long reverb tail still ringing, I think you can tell what I'm aiming for. Like the vocal sits like very much on top of the wishy-washy reverb that's going on in the background. It's really easy to do too much and then everything becomes muddy. But when you do it this way, like think of the reverb as like the, I don't know, the bedrock, what's the word? I don't know. One of those, like it's there laying down the foundation, but then the things that you want to kind of put in front need to be more clear. But you can still kind of add ambience to them by having some like delay and using stereo spread and stuff like that. And this way you can tell what's going on, what the singer is saying, stuff like that. But it's very, very ambient when we take all of the tracks and listen to the whole thing. There was a bass fill by Ville that I like. I've been giving him a hard time because of that. He's usually like annoyingly perfect. I've had studio sessions with him where he plays the full track twice. Both takes are like 100% correct and usable. So anytime he does make a mistake, I'm giving him a hard time just because, well, that's what friends do. And yeah, the last thing is the Valhalla Supermassive, which is always amazing. I absolutely love this plugin, and like just finding the balance between how much there needs to be this and how much like tracks need to be kind of reverberated and delayed and stuff like that individually took a little bit of time, but in the end it's fairly simple. Add some width and stuff like that on the actual tracks, and then send the correct amount of those here. Remember to cut out a lot of the high end and the low end as well, so you're kind of leaving space for some of the dry things or drier things, and also that you're not reverberating the low end. Otherwise you'll end up with a very muddy mix. There. By the way, this plugin is free. I'll put a link in the description if you want to get yours as well. It's absolutely fantastic. Mastering wise, some rather simple stuff. Tape saturation. Just adding a little bit of warmth, and at least this plugin brings the whole track kind of together a little bit, add some warmth and tape saturation. I'm trying to make sure I'm not going over the red limit here, just so I'm not adding any kind of distortion. And then the iZotope Ozone 9 mastering plugin. A little bit of EQ going on here, some dynamic EQ, so it's automatically pulling down some of the frequencies like this. And then limiter as well. And then the limiter is basically just bringing down the kick drum and bass drum hits, and that's about it. And yeah, that's how you mix ambient home studio sessions. Nothing too complicated. Effect the tracks themselves, send them to the reverb as well, and then just find balance between being able to tell what's going on, but also making it like ambient and moody, like the ambience is happening in the background, not like everywhere all the time. And overall, like, we didn't specifically aim for this kind of ambient thing. Actually, we didn't rehearse at all before we started this session. I heard 2 of the songs for the first time in my life while playing them, and I basically just took the material and saw that, hey, I can probably make this nice and ambient and give it a specific kind of mood, and that's exactly what I was able to do. So depending on what kind of material you're working on, you can use exactly the same tricks I did, or you can take some of them and apply it to your song as well. Either way, thanks for watching this video. I highly recommend you check out the home studio setup course. There's a bunch of cool stuff that can make a huge difference for your home studio as well. If you're new to the channel but enjoy the content, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell as well. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. I shall see you next time.